The following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and Sheriff Deputy Rick Grimes, who wakes up from a coma to learn the world is in ruins and must lead a group of survivors to try and stay alive.
Did you watch the right show?
What? What are you talking? Oh, damn it. Yeah, the following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and a spin-off series that doesn't even come close to comparison to its original source material.
Not even close.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. The dead are coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, an all Walking Dead universe podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm angry.
Aren't we all? And this is podcast episode number 306. And this week we will be discussing episode 9 of season 8 of the final stick a fork in it season of Fear the Walking Dead. Title of the episode is Sanctuary. And we are highly, highly motivated to not spend a lot of time talking about this episode, sadly. And we say we're going to probably have this episode was terrible. I won't have a lot to talk about. It'll be a shorter episode, and they always end up being longer. So, so we'll see how that goes. Steve, you went first last week, and it looks like it's my turn to go this week to talk quick thoughts on the episode.
Okay. Sadly, that is true.
Sadly, that's true. I think that the whole reason we had this episode, we've talked before about how the knuckleheads, I was about to make this point before we started recording, and I was like, no. This is a gem, and it should be recorded and given to the others to listen to. In the past, you and I have both talked about how some of the mechanism of this show is simply one or both of the knuckleheads going, it'd be cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that one or both of those, pardon my French, motherfuckers, they sat in their house and they were trying to figure out, well, we're going to have to wrap up this character, and this character. Oh, Dwight and Sherry have so much trauma around the sanctuary. Wouldn't it be cool if we just did a whole episode of the sanctuary? Because you and I both agree, there's no plot reason to go there. There's no reason for them to stay there. This episode didn't move any plot point forward, so they literally could have done this at the bottom of a fucking well, and it wouldn't have mattered what the location was. So it's absolutely obvious that the only reason that this episode even happened at the sanctuary is because one of those dipshits was like, it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like this set exists anymore. If you watched the little featurette at the end, they had to recreate it. And I will give them the tiniest of props. It did look very good. It looked a lot like the sanctuary would look broken down after X amount of years, blah, blah, blah. It looked good. But it was one of the most iconic set pieces, and I would say one of the easier ones to recreate, because Alexandria, Hilltop, and Oceanside are a little bit more specific. Oceanside maybe less so, but Alexandria has specific buildings, and then with the windmill and all that other stuff. And Hilltop is very specific because it's literally on a fucking hilltop. This you could just have in the middle of nowhere, and you could just, it's obviously green screen when they're outside because there's no way that they had it built like that. So their interior sets were just needed to be warehouse in general. And then they had someone who's amazing in their set dressing department who made it look great. That's it. That's the only reason they were at Sanctuary, is because someone said it'd be cool. We didn't move the plot forward. We didn't learn anything new about these people. We got new characters that made no effing sense, and they were gone by the end of the episode, because that's what Fear does. They're like, oh, we always have such a high body count. Yeah, for people that we met 7 minutes before. Who fucking cares? So that's how I feel about this episode. This was a microcosm of everything that is terrible about this show. Characters we used to care about, who now we don't care if they die because we hate them so much, who used to have reason for being around. These writers couldn't write for these canon characters out of a paper bag, because Dwight is canon. Dwight is in the fucking comic books. And for you to take him and to make him who he is now is so ridiculous. And so we've got characters we hate, characters saying shit that doesn't make any sense. The grouping that ends up together with June and Dove and whatever, how did they make these groups? And then in a location that makes no sense, why are they there? They didn't need to be there for any reason other than the fantastical ones. And we didn't go anywhere plot-wise. The plot didn't drive forward at all. We're basically... It's basically the same spot where we were before the episode started. That's it.
Right. Well, all the plot development happened in the last 40 seconds when we see Victor with Tracy.
Yeah, that's it.
That was it.
And that was
all we got.
That 30 seconds was more interesting than the entire episode that preceded it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, that's how I feel. Those weren't what we would call quick thoughts, but they were
very
certainly
angry
loud,
thoughts, though.
And they were very filled with adult language. Yeah. Sometimes I really like that disclaimer to be very, very true. I want to earn that little explicit check mark I have to make on Libsyn before I publish the podcast. Sometimes I just want to earn it. Anyway,
mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Steve, your thoughts, please.
I think we should, for the rest of the show, I think if it would just be better for everyone if we just retitle this segment Angry Thoughts. Just because, there's no chance. I'm convinced that, every episode that they have left is going to be terrible. No, there's no, oh my God, I didn't see that coming moment for this show where suddenly it's going to become good. It's done. I also think my quick thoughts for this episode is it's gotten to the point where I'm starting to think that in the writing room for this episode, the writers that are there, because every episode for this half season, none of them have been written by the Knuckleheads. It's all been written by the usual suspects, like all of the writers everybody that's a writer for these 6 episodes, and for any of the episodes in the last probably season and a half, they're all like executive producers of the show or producers of the show, right? So they're clearly all attached to it that way. And I'm starting to believe that in that writer's room at some point they made a bet with each other. And that bet was
write the worst episode.
Yeah, like what's the most ridiculous, crazy, stupid storyline we can write and get it on the air? And literally, it's just lucky us. Like every week, there's like a different writer or writing team going, "Oh, you think that's bad? Hold my beer." And here we go. This episode was, it's just crap. It's all crap. Again, like you said, it looks good because the people that are the technical folks that do the set design and do the makeup are really good at their jobs.
Yes,
and they can still turn out good looking stuff. But the content, the story, the dialogue, oh my God, the dialogue. It's terrible. And there's so many things in this episode where you're like, why are you going to Sanctuary? Why are you going back to Sanctuary? Why are you not going to Alexandria? Why are you still calling that kid Dove? There's so many things about this episode that is just so you're like, it's just irredeemable. I had one moment of the show that I like chuckled where I'm like, okay, that was funny. But again, it had absolutely nothing to do with what little plot was in this episode. It was just sort of a side moment that we'll bring up when we get there. But there's nothing to say. And I'm sorry if you like this episode. Good for you, and I'm happy for you that you found something that you enjoyed. And I know some of our feedback. I think somebody did say they kind of liked it. So, good for you. I'm happy for you. I'm sorry. This show is just irredeemable trash as far as I'm concerned. So
it's funny.
And that's all I got to say.
When you that's it, folks. We'll talk to you next week. You used the word irredeemable when you first started talking, and you just used it again, and it made me think. I'm curious, and it's kind of a tangent, and bear with us, folks. There's 3 episodes left, and who the hell knows what direction they're going to go in. And there's no possible way that they are going to stick any kind of landing. They're going to break every single bone trying to hit this landing. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious if you could wave a magic wand. Is there any amount of things that they could do in these last 3 episodes? Are there any things that could, and we're talking realistic. I don't mean like drop a nuclear bomb on all of them, because that's not realistic at all.
And they already did that.
But I mean something realistic, like someone going somewhere, some event happening to someone running into another character. Is there any single or handful of things that could happen that you would like to see, or do you think would at least help remove some of the irredeemable tag from this show? Or is it too late?
I again, short of my original thought from 2 or 3 years ago that, we have one of the characters, is suddenly opens their eyes like Daryl did in the Daryl Dixon show when he's under the water, and the character kicks their way to the surface, and we see in the background the mushroom cloud by the dam, and whether it's Madison or it's Alicia or Daniel or any of those people that were there for that, and whoever they are, it's like, oh my God, all that was just a horrible, horrible nightmare. And they, get to the shore, drag themselves out of the water, and just walk away. That would be one way, where we're basically saying, hey, all this stuff that just happened, it never really happened,
It's just a bad dream.
Dallas, the whole, Bobby's still alive.
Yeah.
He's just in the shower the whole time. That would be it. That would be it. Other than that, no, I can't think of anything. This show is too far gone.
I kind of agree with you. I don't think, it's way too late in the game for them to be able to wrap up a bunch of things. And I think it would take a lot of things to redeem the show that we have now. It couldn't be like just one single solitary, like if we saw, Morgan outside the gates of Alexandria and then boom, the show's over. Or we saw our people, like these folks, like what if Dwight, Sherry, June, Victor, all of them show up at the gates of Alexandria and then that's the end. I mean, that might be interesting. I don't know. But even something like that would still feel kind of performative, and it wouldn't be rooted in anything that's real. And I agree with you. I think something as ridiculously drastic as something like that, like waking up from a coma or something like that, and just being like, I had the weirdest dream, because it's the only way you can explain. If you were to go back in time to Madison being at the auto ranch with Alicia and Nick and just be like, in a few short years' time, you guys are going to go through and then list everything that happens on the show. Like they'd say, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy. I mean, hello, nuclear holocaust.
Right. But really, was it?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think there are too many crazy things that have happened on the show that would need to be explained away, that I don't think that there's any single or handful of things that can sort of wrap it up now. There is no bow that you can tie up around this. So I agree with you. I think that's right. I think the only thing that'll make me happy is to see all of these friggin' people die.
Oh, I'm totally rooting for the ghouls. I am.
Yes,
I want them all to get eaten. There's nobody I care about at all. So and I should tell you too. My prediction, my gut feeling is that whatever the ending is going to be, first of all, it's going to be bad. But know that these guys, it's going to be upbeat. It's going to be the nightmare's over. Like they might actually like cure the zombie thing. At the end of their
could they
show.
do like a flash forward where like everything's fine?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No. They totally. And whether they go that far, I don't know. But it's going to be a happy ending where everybody's living on Padre and they're all one big freaking family. I mean, that's going to be the end of the show, without a doubt.
I have one prediction that I think is a distinct possibility. Mm-hmm. This show in the last few years, this universe in the last few years has done a really good job of trying to tie these individual universes together with post-credit scenes and things like that. And we were given a little nugget in the Daryl Dixon show with the conversation with Carol that someone is back. Mm-hmm. And based on the letter or the end of the name that we heard, I think it's very possible that it's Dwight. And I think that there could be a post-credits scene that ties Fear the Walking Dead's end to Daryl Dixon season 2. And it'd just be like some post-credit scene where they have Carol at the Commonwealth or whatever, and she answers the gate and Dwight's there. And whether he's with Sherry or whatever, I don't think that the rest of that matters. But if you go back and listen, there's like a hard consonant sound at the end, which is why a lot of people thought it was Rick, but I don't think it's a ka. I think it's a t, like a T at the end of it. And so I think
not it's Heath.
No, I mean it could be Heath, but it'd be like Heat.
Maybe that's what they think his name is. He's been gone for so long. They think his name is Heat.
And the thing is that structurally speaking, it wouldn't be terrible for Dwight to make it back to the Commonwealth because he does figure in the comic book version of the Commonwealth story, but it's during the Walking Dead version of it when they're fighting with Pamela and the Miltons, etc., when them sort of taking over the Commonwealth. But it wouldn't be wrong for Dwight to be there. It would just mean he survived that stuff, and and there's nothing wrong with that. There's at this point in the comics, Ezekiel has been dead for years, so it's like, so it doesn't really matter, because I'm pretty sure Dwight dies in the conflict with the Miltons and everything. But it'd be interesting. You could bring Dwight back into the fold. I wouldn't say no to it. And his character connecting back up makes the most sense. And I'm really hoping, because I just don't want it to be like Morgan or anybody else. And I think the idea of Dwight showing back up again would create drama with Daryl. And people have brought up Dwight's name as a possibility as being the one that Carol said, but I'm thinking more and more about it because of all of the Daryl-centric stuff that happened in this episode. And of course, it's terrible and it's written terribly and all of the exposition is awful and all of that with all the flashbacks and all that stuff. But of course, we're talking about this show, which is terrible and handled it like sort of ham-fisted. But I still think that that's a distinct possibility. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I'm curious what other people think of it. So that's my. But other than that, yes, everybody else can die. Goodbye. And I'm fine with it. All right. That's our thoughts we're going to get into talking about the actual episode itself, sadly. Details about the actual episode, even more sadly. But before we do that, we're going to first listen to our episode description. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
All right. Well, let's get to here. This week's episode is being brought to you by The Dwight Switch.
Hey fans, how many times have you started watching an episode of Fear the Walking Dead only to discover it's a Dwight and Sherry episode? Oh no! Don't you wish there was a way to make that horrible episode better? Well, Knucklehead Industries has the solution, the Dwight Switch. No, not a light switch, the Dwight Switch. Made to combat patented bad writing, the Dwight Switch can instantly make any terrible Fear episode better. Made out of sturdy materials, the Dwight Switch is easy to use and even easier to install. Step 1. Attach the Dwight Switch to your TV or remote power button. Step 2. When the episode begins, simply click the Dwight Switch. Your TV should turn off, instantly improving your viewing experience. But don't take our word for it. Listen to these reviews.
I've spent the last 5 years watching horrible Fear the Walking Dead episodes. I didn't think that anything could improve them. Boy, did the Dwight Switch prove me wrong.
Watching Fear had become the worst experience of my life. Every episode was 60 minutes that I would never, ever get back. After installing the Dwight Switch, everything improved.
Just seeing the dark screen every week has improved my life. Thanks, Dwight Switch.
So don't delay. Call now. Operators are standing by.
I mean, I wish I had a Switch, is what I'm thinking. Because then...
I'm going to get one.
You should. You absolutely should.
I mean, think about it. You're watching Fear, and it's already bad. But then you see it's a Dwight and Sherry episode, which just means it's going to be even worse. And then you just push the Dwight switch, and your TV screen goes completely blank. Yeah. And everything gets better.
I mean,
it's a win-win.
I like it.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
All right.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the show that it's sponsoring is not good, but the show in question is Fear the Walking Dead, and this was episode 8.9, Sanctuary. There we go. We go. Okay.
The sound of Diana copying and pasting the episode description while we're sort of, we're shambling along. We're doing a little dance in front of you all.
We are. It's sort of like I would really love to give you the description. However,
good job, dancing, by the way. You did good.
I try. I've been doing this for over 100 episodes, so I'm starting to get the hang of it. Anyway, the description for Sanctuary is as follows. Dwight and Sherry confront the demons of their past to secure a better future for themselves. And that is your episode description. And you forgot to add, and June acts annoying the entire episode.
No, that doesn't need to be in the description, because I just want to forget about it mentally.
Oh, I tell you.
So let's lay the blame where the blame is due. Our writers and director for this episode, please, if you could.
Okay, very well. This is another writing team. It is not the Knuckleheads for the writers. It's a guy named, both of them we talked about many, many times. One is Justin Boyd, and the other is good old David Johnson, who we know better as David Fournames, because
yes, that's right.
His name, he's got 3 other names before Johnson or after Johnson or whatever, and he, for whatever reason, he got tired of the insults, so he just goes by David Johnson now. But
do you blame him?
Justin? No, I'm surprised. I doubt any of these people are using their real names at all. So, they're probably all like, 8-year-olds in India working in like a sweatshop somewhere. But Justin Boyd has written 5 episodes of Fear, so there's a lot of reason to dislike him. He wrote 2 in season 7, and then he has written 3 in season 8 here, and all 3 of them are in this second batch of episodes. He wrote last week's episode, Anton. No, he wrote the second episode, 8.7, Anton, with Jacob Pinion. And then he wrote this one with David Johnson, and he also writes next week's episode with David Johnson, and that is entitled Keeping Her Alive. And I believe the her in that statement is Alicia, but we'll have to see. And then David Fournames has written 10 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, so even more reason to dislike him. And he wrote 2 in season 5, 2 in season 6, 3 in season 7. So he's been with the Knuckleheads for a long time. And then in this season, season 8, he has written 3 episodes. He wrote, he wrote 8.8, which is More Time Than You Know. That's next week's episode. It's More Time Than You Know. 8.10 is Keeping Her Alive. So that's a little bit away from there. And then 8.9 is Sanctuary, and then Keeping Her Alive. So he's written 3 in this group as well. So that's our writers, and then our director is a gentleman named Phil McLaughlin. This is his first time working in the Walking Dead universe, so he's not directed any previous episodes. This is his first thing. He has a bunch of other television credits. He worked on directed shows for the TV series Parenthood. He did About a Boy, Pure Genius, The Path, and Away, and those are just, I kind of picked a little sampling of some of his work. So the dude's done a lot of TV. So I don't, I couldn't tell you if he's a good director or not. This, Kubrick would have struggled with this script. Okay, so
you're not wrong.
So it's sort of like, okay, I don't know. I mean, there weren't any, glaring technical errors to me that jumped out at me, and the way the story was constructed and put together. So I guess he's good. I don't know. I mean, maybe watch some of this other stuff and see, with a good script, what he can do. So,
yeah.
But that is your writer and your director.
God, so bad. All right. So, Dwight is obviously at his house, which we know it because we've seen it a bunch of times, and they've shown it on there.
You see the beer bottles, right? Didn't they always eat like beer and pretzels or whatever? And I mean, it's great, and there's like still the old photographs are there.
Yeah, not deteriorated. No. Even though it's been exposed to the elements for however many years, they're still, of course, looking pretty good. Pretty good.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good. And he finds a lamp. And as you said, it's magically got some oil in it still. That's,
oh my goodness.
He's such a lucky SOB.
Oh, he is. And I thought it was interesting too that he lights the lamp and then he just sits in the room and is gonna go to sleep, and he keeps the lamp on. And I'm like, are you like a moron? Why are you wasting what little oil's left in there, you dimbo? But that's what he does. Yeah. And my comment was, of course the lamp still has oil in it. And away we go.
Right. I think it's definitely like when you go into the episode, you have like this tiny, not a kernel, but like maybe the size of like a chia seed, like this, like maybe a little bit of hope, like who knows? Could they knock it out of the park with this one? Right. No, but like, could there be something redeeming in the first 10 minutes? And I just loved your notes, which just like, away we go. This is ridiculousness upon ridiculousness.
Oh, yeah, it's just like you're hopeful. You're like praying. Could we get another the most beautiful thing in the world? That episode with Al and what's her name on the hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I mean, arguably that's the best episode they ever did. It's like that or the Storm episode, one of the two, I think.
There was there's a few, but I agree. Like, just
just the story between Alan and Isabel, was But anyway, I'm right there with you. Like, you have that kind of hope of like, oh my God, wouldn't it be great if this one is like that? And then in this episode, literally like 2 minutes in, I'm like, it's not.
Yes, it's not. But the one thing that I did. And I did enjoy that they used this throughout the episode, and so did Eric Kane, is like, Dwight is aware of how ridiculous this whole episode is.
Yeah.
And a part of me, like, is it Dwight? Is it Austin Emilio? I don't know. I think he had a really easy time acting out, this is ridiculous, these coincidences and all that stuff. So, like, from the get-go, you know, when this other ding-dong shows up, this red shirt named Jay, as soon as he shows up and is talking to Dwight, and Dwight's like, are you kidding me? He's like,
yeah, right, yeah.
Right? As soon as he's like, I lost my insulin, I'm like, I go, are you kidding me? And then Dwight goes, are you kidding me? And I was wait, what just happened?
Right, and but I mean, first of all, that is such an old pull from the show.
Yeah,
I mean,
you'd have to really be into, like, Walking Dead to remember all that stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I at first I didn't, because you're right, because Dwight's like, who sent you here? Who told you about me? He keeps asking him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What? And I'm like, why is getting the insulin bringing up these bad men? Because I honestly I didn't remember, and then like the fact that it was for Sherry's sister, or was it his sister? Somebody's sister. He was trying to get the insulin. Yeah, which I'm like, wait, Sherry had a sister? And so, I mean, it shows you mine. I'm like, really? So, yeah, I mean, talk about an obscure pull from the old show.
It's so good because it is a really great scene. It's a good episode. It's a good scene. And there's one moment in that Walking Dead episode that I loved when, you know, they're very, like, they don't care. They're basically, because they've been indoctrinated by Negan. And they're like, we have to get away. I'm sorry for you, pal, that we're taking your shit, but we gotta go. And if you knew, you wouldn't feel bad. You wouldn't be mad at us. But when Sherry goes to get on his bike and she's like, I'm sorry. And Daryl goes, you will be. And I'm like, that was such a great, and they were, because they got caught. They went back. Their lives went downhill from there on out. And Austin Emilio is very, very partial to this episode because it's the only one in the entire canon where he doesn't have to deal with the fucking face burn thing, because that makeup is ridiculous to have to deal with that all the time. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, it is a very niche pull, but I do appreciate that from the get-go, Dwight was like, what? Are you joking?
Yeah.
Are you wait?
And just like this is you're punking me. Like, this can't be real.
Yeah, like, part of me, if this was a modern TV show, he'd start looking around going, is there a camera in your, like, is it on your, are you wearing a body camera? Like, how am I being filmed is the question.
Yeah. Where's Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, it's gonna jump out any minute now. You're punked, man. Oh my God, yeah. But I thought there were some other things that I thought were interesting, because he does, in the beginning, like, there's a tussle or something. He ends up with getting Jay on the floor at some point, and Jay makes a point of looking at the photograph that's there of Dwight and Sherry. He
drops the photo, yeah.
Right. And I was like, well, that's interesting why they show that. And then when he makes a point of saying, like, it's for my wife or whatever, or I just lost my wife and,
and my daughter.
Right. And he's like, and have you lost people? Were you married or whatever? And you know that he was, because of the picture or whatever. So when Jay first started talking, I was like, I was a little confused, because I was like, is this guy a plant? Is it someone that's just trying to get Dwight to, like, surrender or come out? I was confused at first, because I was like, there can't be that much of a coincidence. But it turned out this is Fear the Walking Dead. And yes, there can be that much of a coincidence.
Oh, God, yeah.
But then to find out later on, after Jay dies and he brains him, and he finds the picture on him of him with the wife, and I think the kid was in the picture too.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, he was just trying to find a way to appeal to Dwight as a human.
Yeah.
But they set it up in like that, I don't know whether to trust this guy, because he only brought up the wife stuff after seeing the photo. So is he making it up? It was unclear. So I thought that they did okay with making Jay like an unclear person. Mm-hmm. And Jay did have one line when they were talking about trying to go and get his stuff, he just needed a hand. And when he says, if we don't help each other, what are we even doing here? And I thought that was an interesting quote, because it's true. The worst people out there aren't even the ghouls, it's the other humans. But there's such a loss of humanity because, it's survival of the fittest, and you got to, look out for yourself. And sometimes you can't look out for the other person because it might be to your detriment. But he's just trying to make a point about, we should all be helping each other if we can. But we're kind of late in the apocalypse for those kind of platitudes. So even though it was a good line in the midst of all of this other stuff, and considering time-wise where we are, I liked it, but it also felt out of place all at the same time, which is why I included it, because I want to make sure we talked about it. But
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's our opener.
I gotta say, I hated that scene, that whole scene. I hated that character. I hated everything. I liked Dwight's initial response, which was the correct one, which is,
are you kidding me?
When he says, because the guy says, well, my name's Jay, and then he literally says, like, okay, Jay, are you gonna walk out of here, or do I drag you out of here? And that's the response. It's like, look, pal, I don't care. I don't, and this, if we're supposed to believe that Dwight is this broken dude that just wants to be left the hell alone and is tired of helping people, because as he says, every time he tries to do something great and nice, what happens, right? It all goes bad. And here comes this guy whining about, somebody took my stuff. It's like, dude, look around. Where are you? Everybody takes everybody's stuff. Okay. Too flippin' bad. And why it's like, look, either you turn around and leave right now, or I'm going to shoot you in the face. That's how that scene should have ended. Okay.
Right.
In any sort of reality that was rooted in. Yet somehow he convinces Dwight to help him. This is a guy that Dwight has met for 2 minutes, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll follow you out into the dark. Sure. Yeah. I'm not going to get killed by your henchmen, your buddies that are waiting to ambush me. Sure. So he goes there. Then he shows up at Sanctuary, right? And then he's just like, oh yeah, bad stuff happened to me in there. That's all right. I'll go in anyway. I mean, no.
He does eventually get there, but his first reaction, first of all, it's still bullshit, because he doesn't react to Sanctuary until he sees it. And I'm like, you didn't know where you were going?
Right.
You don't know where you're going from the road from your house to this. You know that road very well.
Well, and don't you think the dude would have told him, they're like holed up in this big factory that's down the road. Sanctuary used to be down there. No.
Yeah, no kidding. But they were able to have one humorous line. This was my one LOL, my one laugh out loud. When Dwight sees the building and says, your stuff's in there, and he says, good luck, and starts to walk away. And I was like,
right.
That is the proper response. It should have happened back at your house.
Yeah.
And as soon as you started walking down the road and you're like, you mean the factory that's down like 5 miles down this way and da-da-da-da? Yeah, no, I'm not going there.
I'm not going there, yeah. And well, and then on top of it, I mean, Dwight, it's funny, the Dwight's conversation, again, you wonder, was that the actual lines, or is that just Austin Emilio talking? Because
I wonder.
Because the guy's like, I got to get my insulin because I've got a week supply and I won't make it. And and Dwight's like, what are you going to do after the week's up? And he's like, oh, I don't know, man, but a week's better than being dead. And I'm just like, dead man walking, get the hell out of my house, okay?
Yeah. And that was such a terrible response to that. He was like, it's a week's worth of insulin. And he says, like, Dwight said all the right things. He's like, what do you do after a week? And I'm like, yeah, dude, what do you do after a week?
Right.
So you're going to kill yourself to get a week's worth of insulin, and then you have no plan for after that.
Right. And then part of me is like, okay, Dwight, if you're where you're in your house and Sanctuary is down the road, that means Alexandria is not that far away, right?
Yeah.
So why not just take it? Why not you be like, oh, it's in the Sanctuary? Well, if I'm not going back there because I have really bad memories there, but I know a place where there are people that might be able to help you. Why don't we go there?
Could we maybe pivot to another location that I'm aware of might be able to help you?
Yeah, it was so bad. Yeah, I get cold and dead inside. We know that. That's how I am. But I'm tired on all of the shows when these whining people show up and need help. And I think a lot of it is because so many, I mean, every season of Fear since these guys took over is about, we got to help people. Ugh. I mean, that's been the underlying story of every season. Is how are we going to help people? We're not out there helping people. And it's like, no, you're trying to survive, you moron. So yeah, I have no sympathy at all for that guy. It's too bad. So I mean, it's, sucks if it's you personally, right? But too bad. Then you know what? You probably weren't meant to make it in this world.
Yeah. And also the ridiculousness of he finally is like, yeah, fine, I'll go inside. And he like breaks through the fence, like an opening in the fence. And like right as he makes it through the fence, that's when the chain breaks for the ghoul. Mm-hmm. The metal chain, which, metal chains don't break.
Not well, you have to wonder if that's like an original one from back in the day. I suppose it's possible after, like 10 summers and winters or whatever.
Yes, so, but
yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, it was terrible.
For it to happen right then and there. That's my thing.
And then on top of it, when he goes in there and he gets the stuff, and then he like just sits there and stares at the wall for like 10 minutes. It's like, get the hell out of there, dude. What are you doing?
You have said before many times that the thing that drives you nuts on these shows is when smart people make stupid decisions like that. Yeah. And we know Dwight knows better.
Clearly.
So regardless of, there's people who might be dangerous that are in this building, and I know it. Regardless of that, he has bad memories of this place and should be motivated to want to be like, all right, I'm getting your stuff. I found it. Oh my God, the furnace. I don't want to look at the furnace. I need to get out of here. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't. He just, it turns into this big weepy mess.
Right. Like, and then,
he's gonna like.
I have to admit, I did like it when he threw the guy in the fire. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a nice drop. The callback. I agree.
Yeah, but still, it was just, and they, clearly these, for some reason, Galen Hurd or somebody said, since this is your last episode, we'll just give you access to all of the series, and you can use whatever flashback footage you want, because we got all kinds of Negan and Daryl and the Iron and all that stuff, in those moments when he's having his PTSD moments and flashbacks and everything. But again, it's just like, what are you doing? The only thing that bothered me later is that he, goes to his room later on and there's like still a box of ammo he's hidden away that he gets out to reload. It's just like, why didn't you go get the ammo while you were there?
Yeah, duh.
Why don't you take advantage of the fact that the layout of this building inside and out, and these knuckleheads that have taken over it probably don't.
Yeah.
Yet, right? So why aren't you doing that? No. He's just gonna stare at the infinity symbol, and oh my God, was that story bad?
If the infinity symbol wasn't there, which is what he was sort of centering on, we find out much, much later. Mm-hmm. But if it wasn't for that, I did like the hook and the iron being right there. I thought that was very cool for that to be there. If it had been there without the infinity symbol, fantastic.
Yeah.
And if he had looked at it and had a moment looking at the iron and then tried to escape the building, he didn't need the furnace to have his imagery. The iron is what the imagery should have stemmed from.
Right. But this idea that it represents him and Sherry together forever, and then he says to Sherry, "I put them all over the place where Negan wouldn't see them," and I'm like, it's like at eye level right in the middle of the room. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and it's like, hello, Negan has exhibited that he likes the furnace. He uses the furnace often as a tool for training for people, you know?
Right.
So, I think he would have. And here's the thing. We never saw that. We were by the furnace a lot.
Right.
We were by the, in Dwight's room a bunch of times. It's like, we're retconning stuff that, like, doesn't make any sense. You know
what? I'm sure that they will go back to those original episodes and they will digitally add the infinity symbols.
Screw
now.
that.
So, yeah, you know that's going to happen, right? I mean, it was just everything about that opening sequence was terrible. Then, of course, he gets the magic graze. I almost thought at first he got shot in the shoulder. but instead it just kind of nicked the skin a little on the edge of his arm, and he gets away, and for some reason the guys that are there don't follow him because he's able to stagger all the way back to his house without them pursuing.
He goes down a well-established road to a house where he has a light on. It's not that tricky to follow somebody.
That's right. And they were gung-ho on finding him because they're out looking for him the next day, right? So, it's not a case where they're just like, oh, well, let him go. I mean, they're like, no, we got to find it. So that didn't make any sense. And then he gets back, and then, of course, the insulin dude has died. So, he went too long without a shot, apparently, because he died from, lack of insulin. And so then he has to put him down. And then just when things can't get any worse, they get worse.
Oh, God, they totally get worse. Because What's-Her-Face shows up. Sherry.
It's the S in the DNS.
Yeah, the D of the DNS. Dumb and stupid. And so Sherry shows up, which, whatever. They're terrible. They're terrible together. Mm-hmm. It makes more sense for Sherry to come looking for Dwight. Whatever. They have history. It as ridiculous as it is, she can be there. That's fine. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Why is June there?
Because they're family.
Why is the girl from Padre there?
I know. It's just, and like we kind of hinted at, why are they still calling her Dove? It's like, did we not get rid of the ststupid bird names when the Padre kids got killed? The people running it.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so stupid.
I didn't make any notes about June. All I did was I hated everything about June in this episode.
Yeah, I did too.
I hated her lines. I hated all of her situations. Every situation that she was in was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. All of her lines she was given and situations she was given were ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, I love you, Jenna Elfman, but some of the acting was terrible. Like absolute melodrama, dialing it in bullshit. It was just all of her scenes were the worst of the whole episode.
Well, it was very poor acting, but I mean the dialogue, and Eric Kane points this out a couple times, is that people don't talk that way ever, and it just, so right away it doesn't matter how great the actor is, when the line is that bad, it's gonna sound false or hollow to the audience. Because we know it's like people don't talk that they wouldn't say, she would never say that to anyone, let alone him or her. You know what I mean? You're just like, it already throws you. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I really think Jenna Elfman is she, for these episodes, she's mailing it in because she wants to. I think she loves the zombie shows enough that she's like, I want to make it. I want my character to survive. So she's putting up with all these crappy stories because she knows she's going to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if she didn't have as much love and affection for the universe, years ago, she would have pulled a Garrett Dillahunt and be like, yeah, I want off this piece of shit show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, you're right. She is, I mean, every line she says in this movie it's like fingers on the chalkboard. I mean, it's just so bad. And I make this point a couple of times in that there are scenes in this episode where it seems to me that Dwight and Sherry are talking to each other like they're 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then the scene at the end with June and Dove about no one can save me, so I'm trying to take the bullet out myself, all that suddenly they were 5. And I get it, and that Dove is like pretty close to being 5 because she's like a kid. So she kind of has and she was shot, so she kind of has an excuse. But I mean, all of these so-called adults, and I'm using air quotes, going to this sort of, 5-year-old approach to arguing with each other, and I mean, it was ridiculous. It was just terrible. I mean, this was the moment to hit the Dwight switch right there.
Yeah, and it's. I feel like what you were saying, right? Just as things couldn't get any worse, and then Sherry and June and Dove show up, and just when you thought things couldn't get more illogical, but they went and they seek refuge inside a furnace, and not only that, but I'm pretty sure they performed surgery inside that.
Oh, they did
too.
Yep.
I'm sure it was very clean in there.
Oh, sure.
And I'm sure even though they were like, oh, the fire's out, let's go inside. Do you not think that the metal would hold the heat?
I know.
Or oh, God, so ridiculous.
And, one thing I have noticed about furnaces in my time, lots of light in there. So, you can certainly, when you're trying to remove a bullet, you can certainly see what you're doing,
Yeah.
I mean,
especially one that's so precariously close to whatever artery it is that runs along, like your midsection on your side. Is that the that's the rib artery?
Oh my God!
The lung artery? I don't know.
Yeah, Eric Kane went off on that too. But it's literally like the McRib artery. I think that's what she was afraid was going to get hit. You know what I mean? In honor of the McRib coming back. Yeah.
And what's funny is, I saw his note about it in his review, which, folks, if you want to laugh your ass off, please read his review. It's hilarious. It's the only funny thing about this show.
He instead of doing like a traditional review, he literally like typed out his thoughts as he was watching the episode.
Yeah, almost like stream of consciousness as it's happening.
It is just so fun. I mean, I laughed out loud. I mean, I can just think of lines now and start laughing. It was just so funny, pointing out how incredibly stupid this show is. And it's great. It's totally it's Eric Kane on Forbes.com. If you just Google Eric Kane Fear the Walking Dead, you'll get to it. He is great. Oh,
he's hilarious. He's one of the few things like that you can look forward to with each one of these episodes, because his reviews are spot on. Anyway, so he made a point about where the gunshot was, and he's like, an artery, that makes sense. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, that didn't even dawn on me when I was watching the show. And in my head, I was angry. At first, I was like, why didn't I notice that? I was like, oh, Diana, it's okay. You just weren't paying attention to anything June said as being normal or logical. So it just went right over your head. So you didn't even, you remember she said an artery, and you were like, yeah, an artery on the side of your body. Like where, Oh,
well, it just follows suit with these guys and their connection to, and I'm using air quotes, science. It fits right in there. I mean, if the story needs it to be an artery, then darn it, she's got an artery there. I mean, it's just the way it's gonna work. So, all right, so let's get to the title card.
Oh, the title card.
Yeah.
It's the only good thing in these episodes. But they finally went back to their theme of, we're going to do it for the people that the episode's about. Because last week they did Lucy, and the episode really wasn't about Lucy. It was about
Lucy. Charlie, yeah, right.
It's about Charlie, which was a surprise. But yeah, so the title card was Dwight and Sherry, the sanctuary building. I think there was like part of the house included in the background or whatever, but blah, that's it.
I know. Yeah, who cares? I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they come back, they patch up Dwight, and he's like, "Why are you here?" And of course, it's, we need you because we need to there's a fight coming. And again, I couldn't tell if it was Dwight's lines or it was Emilio talking, because they explain what's going on, and his first response was, sounds to me like that's Madison's fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, why should I care? And then they go on to say, Madison's gone on walkabout, and now Victor is in charge of Sanctuary. And I love it because Dwight's like, wait, Victor's still alive?
Yeah.
And literally June looks him in and credit to Jen Elfman with a straight face. She says, a lot has happened since you left.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's so
Which
terrible.
is true, but just terrible. Like, ugh.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, and then here's this is part where the episode really just from the plot of this episode, which is not much, let me just say, but I was very confused by this point, because the episode opens up and Jay, the insulin dude, shows up, and Dwight, it doesn't take a lot of convincing for Dwight to be like, yeah, man, I'm totally going to go to the place where I, had my face burned off to look for your forking insulin for you, Mr. I just met you 5 minutes ago, dude. Absolutely. And then when he gets back to his house, he and Sherry and June show up, and they're like, we need your help to come back and do this. And he's like, absolutely not, get out. And I'm like, but these are people you've known and loved for years, and you're not going to help them at all. And this other strange guy who just showed up in the middle of nowhere, you're like, yeah, Mr. Stranger, let's go. I mean, it just made no sense to me at all. At all. Yeah. I'm like, why? What is your change of heart? What is your, I don't know. What did you think about that? Did that bother you at all?
There's so much about this episode that bothered me, Steve. I'm not sure I have enough room on our Google document that we use for the episode to really list them all. It felt very, as soon as he said he didn't want to go, I was like, oh, okay, here is the conflict for the center of this episode. They need Dwight to come back with them. And their reasoning is he taught those kids how to fight. I'm like, you're expecting kids to fight your battle when Troy comes?
Right.
Oh my God.
Because Daniel's parent army won't follow. Yeah. Won't follow Madison because, she took all their kids. So.
Oh my God. This sounds ridiculous. Daniel's parent army and Dwight's kid army.
Child army. Yes.
Yeah. It's just like ridiculous. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, so that's our main focus for what this episode's going to be all about. All of the rest of it else is set dressing. And Dwight will, of course, end up going, because why wouldn't he? But we're going to have some kind of stupid conflict and drama and crazy things happen in between it. But the ultimate thing will be Dwight will end up going back to Padre with them. Mm-hmm. That's why they came here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And they came very far because they're on the Gulf Atlantic, Mississippi.
Swamp, again,
this is coast area.
This is just another of those. Where is any of this stuff happening? And I would point out that next week's episode, wherever they are, it's cold enough that there are like walkers frozen in the damn ground. Okay.
Where the hell are we? When the hell are we?
I know. They have just basically the knuckleheads have just given up trying to explain it, and they just have told their writers, look, whatever you want your story to be, just write it. We don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. There's no geography at all. I mean, they, somehow June and Sherry and Dove are able to drive from wherever they were, wherever Padre is, to the sanctuary location, to his house relatively quickly, because apparently Madison just left. Right. We don't know how much it was. What was that, a week ago? Was that a month ago? We don't know. There's no ever indication of how much time.
What is time? Steve?
Exactly. Right. I know.
I mean, it's just a frivolous thing that's brought up by logical people, and we don't have those on this show.
No.
Well, so that's just silly.
The only example we have in a previous episode is in I think the last Morgan episode, they drive back from Morgan's house to this wherever Padre is in one night. Because remember, they race back and then the kid dies and then Finch passes away. So wherever Padre is, it's at least 6-8 hours. Like that's as far away as it is to get there, driving.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I've given up. I don't care. All this stuff, I don't care. But yeah, so you're right. The overall goal of the episode for was to get Dwight to come back so he can participate in the big dukeroo between Madison and Troy. So even though, as you said, sounds like a Madison problem, and it is.
Yeah.
All right. So Dove is, of course, vanished in the morning, and she took the truck, and they don't know why, and she won't answer the radio. And then she shows up, and she's been shot again, very in the stomach, very close to that McRib artery, and
which only comes back once a year. And every time you shoot that McRib artery, you are reminded every year why you don't eat it when it comes back.
Oh, I love McRib. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I love the fact. Let's just talk about that for a while because it's so great. I love because it's much better.
Talking about the actual McRib is better than talking about this stuff.
The McRib is such a great sandwich because McDonald's doesn't care so much that it's like clearly like meat paste that they form into those patties that they put the fake bones in the mold. I think that is just so great. Yeah. It's just, they're like, yes, we know. It literally is Soylent Green you're eating. We don't care. And you're fine with it. Anyway, yes, it's coming back. I can't wait. I'm going to eat like 5 of them while it's back because I love that sandwich. And they keep saying they're never bringing it back. And every year I'm like, please bring it back. And they are. So anyway, but yeah, So she's shot and she needs surgery and she needs supplies and where are we gonna find those? If only we knew a place. And I'm going, Alexandria, go to Alexandria. They have people there that will try and kill you and they'll help her. But anyway, they don't think of that because why would you? And then the bad guy du jour shows up. I think we should take stock. How many like bad guy groups have we met so far in this little 6-episode run that show up and then get wiped out to a man?
I don't know. But this guy was probably the most interestingly outfitted. He was wearing some crazy leather ensemble.
Oh, I know.
And it was very shiny and new.
Oh, yeah. And I saw, all of them were all decked out with long, duster length coats and big, heavy, things wrapped around their neck and layer after layer after layer. And, Dwight and Sherry and June are kind of running around in like shirt sleeves. And I'm like, man, those dudes must be dying in those outfits. It's got to be like 80 degrees.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. So they show up and we get yet another of the just vaunted knucklehead Mexican standoffs. Which, again, how many Mexican standoffs have we had in the first 4 episodes? I think like 8. But
terrible.
I know. And they're saying there. And again, I have to say, there was a moment here where I actually applauded. I clapped. And that's where, the guys are like, we want Dwight because he, threw our friend in the oven. And they're like, well, if you turn yourself into us, we'll give you the supplies and let you operate and save the girl. That's the deal the guy proposes. And then Sherry, because Dwight's kind of like, well, okay. Because as we find out, Dwight doesn't really want to live anymore anyway. And, being on this show, who can blame him? So he's ready to surrender. And then Sherry just starts shooting at the dude. And I'm like, finally, somebody shoots at somebody when they have the chance on this show.
It's the most logical shooting, and it's perfect.
It is, but she misses, so she loses 10 points because she didn't, And later on, we see she shoots some guy in the sanctuary with her pistol. I mean, she just like sticks her head around a corner, one round, takes the guy out, and he's got to be 40 yards away, crouching on a railing somewhere. I mean, it's like a crack shot, so. Her aim when it needs to be good is really good, but not in this case. She can't hit that guy when he's 10 feet away. But I applauded them for that. I'm like, thank God somebody on this show finally is like, screw this, and just starts shooting. And again, I'm wondering, was that in the script, or was that just Evangelista being like, oh my God, this episode is terrible, and just went off the reservation? I don't know. I can't tell.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to tell for the remaining episodes to go. Like, real? Reading your lines? Is this you, the actor? Is this you, the human, saying, I can't take it anymore?
I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore.
Can't take it anymore.
All right, so they end up, they start shooting, and a bunch of ghouls show up, and so they get in a truck and they drive away because apparently, and they go to Sanctuary, is what they do, and they go there because they know it has medical supplies and all that stuff, and apparently the bad guys don't have a car because they walked all the way to Sanctuary, from Sanctuary to this house, and so Dwight's like, well, we got about an hour before they walk back. And I'm like, how do you know that? What if they're running? I mean, it's just, okay. So anyway, this is going to give, time for June to perform surgery, but oh my God, June can't do anything anymore because she doesn't have her finger. Because if you remember that lovely storyline when she was cutting off all the fingers, and when they finally caught her, they cut off hers. Remember that?
I honestly didn't I knew that she's got something wrong with her hand.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly didn't remember what it was.
Really?
And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't.
It was stupid. If you remember, she had a dart gun, and she would knock out the Padre.
I remember people. All of the stuff once you reminded me. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I remember.
And then she would perform surgery on their trigger fingers because apparently she felt that, well, then they won't be able to shoot anyone, which they could just use another finger, but whatever. And so eventually when the Padre kids catch her, and by Padre kids, I mean like the two kids running Padre, they cut her finger off. And so she now is like, well, I can't actually do any of the medical stuff anymore. That would be silly.
It was a long time ago. I couldn't remember. I knew something had happened, and unfortunately, they covered up her hand.
Yeah.
So I was like, she hurt her hand, and then in my head, I was like, I don't remember what it was, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it really doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. Yeah, it really does. But for this episode, it comes out that she's. She basically is like, I can't help anyone, right? I mean, that's literally what she says.
Then why did you come?
I know, it's whatever. So they're running around trying to get the supplies, and and she's telling, you fill this syringe up with this stuff, and you come over and use this thingy to pour the alcohol in that, because she's not going to do any of it. She'll talk them through it, because that's the best way to perform surgery, I think, is to have someone tell a completely uneducated person how to do it. That's what I'm hoping. If I ever go under the knife, that's what I want. And at that point, then apparently a bunch of the ghouls are like pushing against the concrete wall and are somehow causing earthquakes to happen. That's what I took away from it.
That's the only thing I could understand. I was like, they're pushing real hard and it's making it go shaky.
Yeah, it's again, okay, maybe. I mean, they've never explored the idea that after 10 years, buildings are going to be in danger of collapsing until now. But okay, better late than never, right? So I think Dwight and Sherry are like, well, we'll go out and clear out the walkers so you can perform the surgery. And so they go, and then Dwight goes to his room and finds the little cigar box with all the bullets in it. And I'm like, why didn't you go there before and take that? But he didn't. And then Sherry locks him in because Sherry's like, you just want to go out there and kill yourself. And then she's like, well, I'll tell you what, you're not going to do that because I'm going to do that. So she locks him in and goes outside. And I have to say, this was just a special effects thing. I kind of liked the ghouls that had the molten lead on their heads.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of a cool effect, and we've seen those before, or things like that before. And I thought that was neat.
Negan and what's his face? Eugene came up with that.
Yeah,
because it was you couldn't. They're the perfect accessory for outside if you're going to have the fence of walkers, or the walkers out on the other side of your fence as like an extra level of protection.
Yeah.
They need to be ones that can't be taken out.
Right.
So they did all of that to protect the head, which was pretty smart. It makes me mad that they were able to use those walkers in this episode, because it took something that was smart from the original series, and they got to co-opt it for this one. Damn it.
Although I did like Eric Kane in his review when he pointed out that, when you poured the molten lead on their heads, it would have melted their brains and they would have died. But whatever.
Yeah. But
it's a cool visual. It is.
Baby steps, right?
Yeah, right. So she's out there and she's, kind of shooting some of them and right in the middle, like because they're closing in, because like the fence is broken open and there are all kinds of them walking around in there. So she's literally standing in like this open like parking lot area of the sanctuary, shooting ghouls, kind of like they're all around her. And right at that moment, she decides she's going to have a really long conversation with June on the walkie-talkie, which I thought was an odd choice for someone that has survived the apocalypse for over 10 years, but she does. And at that point, then the fence falls on her, the chain link fence. And so she's you're kind of like thinking, well, that'll just about wrap it up for this Sherry person, because, there's like ghouls on top of her. She can't move the fence and she's done. And then June goes and rescues Dwight. And Dwight runs out with an axe and does his best Jack Nicholson from The Shining impression and takes out a bunch of the ghouls and saves Sherry. And then they have yet another 5-year-old conversation while surrounded by ghouls.
Yeah.
And at this point, I thought the show reached a new low when Dwight won't do what Sherry wants, and she has the nerve to throw out what do you think Finch would think of you acting this way? And I was just like, really? What kind of a manipulative biatch are you to throw his dead kid at him? I mean, I was surprised he didn't shoot her right there. But yeah, so they have this ridiculous conversation about life, the universe, and everything. And then finally the bad guys show up. So they were able to walk back in much quicker than an hour, because really only about 12 minutes of episode time passed from when he said we got about an hour to when they show up. But so they show up and they just kind of walk right with the walkers. They're kind of doing their Nick thing there, and apparently that's cool. The walkers really didn't seem to be bothering them. So everybody goes inside and they try and hide out, and finally the bad guys break their way in, and at this point literally the building is starting to fall apart.
It's crumbling.
It's crumbling around, man. It's crumbling. And this was my where I got to see, to me, my greatest, the best moment of the whole episode, and that is when the bad guys get in, they're kind of killing ghouls as they move along, and this one minion of the bad guys, he like takes out a ghoul with his knife, right, and then he undoes it and he kind of pushes the corpse to the ground, and he hears the sound and he looks up and a big chunk of the roof just smushes him. And that was I'm like, okay, that was a fun moment. It had absolutely nothing to do with the plot. It was just fun. I'm like, okay, that's clearly the effects guys just playing around, thinking, that'll be a cool gag. Let's do it. I love that moment. And that was it. And we should also say that while Dwight and Sherry are having their horrible 5-year-old conversation, June and Dove are having their own horrible five-year-old conversation, because June, of course, when she comes back after letting Dwight out, because she won't do the surgery herself, right? She's just like, I can't do it. And she finds Dove like standing next to a mirror in like the bathroom trying to like cut the bullet out herself.
Yeah.
And literally she's like, I'm doing it because none of you can. And I was just like, really? Okay. And yeah, so this of course has a huge conversation between June and her, and we get a reference to Rose, June's kid, from way back in episode 4. right? Who I think we only saw in flashback, if we saw at all, because she was already dead by the time we met June. But I thought that was interesting. Again, they're pulling out all the stops of trying to remind people about stuff that happened on this show.
What they're doing is it's a weekly sort of cataloging of, remember when this, we're going to give you a little like almost Tourette-like flashbacks of, remember when this show was good?
Yeah.
Sorry you have to watch it now, but flash, flash, flash. Remember when the show was good?
Yeah.
So bad.
And so then everybody finally gets together and they try and make it out because the building's collapsing, and then they climb into the furnace because that's the only place that, apparently is not hot enough to kill them, but is strong enough to survive the building falling down on them. And the bad guy leader, of course, gets killed by the guy that he threw in the fire. That's turned and is now a crispy ghoul, and he comes out and bites the dude, and don't they get impaled by a big piece of metal because they're both kind of still wiggling the next morning or whatever. But it's farcical, and that they survived. We're supposed to believe they climb into this furnace, and while they're in there, it's not, as you said, the metal, because he's like, the fire's out, get in. And I'm like, do you know how a furnace works? Because I don't think you do. But again, it's more science on this show. But they climb in. It's not too hot. They can survive in there. And apparently there's enough of a light source that June, even with only one hand, can remove the bullet without any of her tools or anything. And so we flash forward to the next morning, and they're all alive, and the kid's going to make it. And all of the ghouls have been wiped out by the falling ceiling pieces, and all of the bad guys have been killed. So there's no more problems in the sanctuary.
Right.
If you can believe it. Yeah.
It's almost, it reminded me of, remember that, remember the scene from True Lies when she drops the automatic weapon and it knocks out every bad guy in the vicinity, and you look around and everybody's laying down? That's what it looked like when it came out of the furnace. They sort of came out and they're like, oh, look, it took care of everything for us.
How about that?
I know.
Sanctuary isn't bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, just because, why not? What happens then? But in flies an actual forking finch. Yeah. And it lands in front of them for them to see. And I was surprised that Sherry didn't go, look, it's a sign.
Oh, God, the finch.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I mean, of course there was a finch.
Yeah. And then the other thing we get at the end of the episode, and we in the beginning when Dwight goes to his house and is sitting there burning the whatever oil's left in the oil lamp before the insulin dude shows up, there's like an old chess set that's like on the table near him, and he picks up like one of the pieces, like one of the bigger pieces, like a king, a queen, or a rook, or a bishop or something, and he starts whittling with it.
Yeah.
And at first, I was kind of like, well, he's just kind of wasting time. And, obviously he feels like he's never going to play chess again, so it's okay to destroy that set. And then when the guy starts to show up, he like actually puts the wooden piece in his pocket and puts his knife away, so he still has it. And at the end of the episode, we find out that no, he wasn't just whittling. He was making a fake wooden finger that he then gives to June so she can put it on her hand somehow. I don't know, with crazy glue or something. And then she'll just look like a weird person with a fake wooden finger, as opposed to, a person with her hand all bandaged. And my comment there was, yes, that was Dwight giving June the finger. Why not, right? I mean, it's like, this episode is so ridiculous already. Why not? Why not? And I mean, I didn't even get into the part where Dwight is locked in the room and he's so frustrated at Cherry that he literally punches the concrete wall with his hand to the point where all of his knuckles are like bloody. And I'm like, okay, so like breaking your hand is going to help who exactly, Dwight? I mean, how is this helping at all? That, now, because then he has to run out and help her. And I'm like, how can you even pick up an axe with that hand?
You can't.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that was kind of all of my points about the main story. I'm sorry if I kind of jumped in and just sort of drove the conversation there. Is there anything in there that you wanted to bring out that you thought was good, bad, or other?
Of course, Victor has Troy's daughter.
Yeah, of course.
I felt like I put it as like sort of a tag at the end, and I know we talked a little bit about the whole was Dwight like just like was Dwight or was Dwight Austin Emilio? Like I don't know, but I was torn because I really liked the whole Dwight being like, you guys are nuts. Like, what is, almost like he was the voice of reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if Sherry hadn't shown up and they hadn't had their usual relationship-esque drama, it was actually kind of funny. Like, I'm not saying the episode was good, but I liked that they were poking fun at the ridiculousness of what was happening.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it was on purpose or not, I was giggling a little at some of that stuff, but then Sherry showed up and it got all messed up and it turned into a soap opera. So yeah. So there's that. No, so, but other than that, no, we've covered everything that I had on my list. I don't think we skipped anything.
Well, and the question I have to ask you now, are we supposed to take away from the end of this episode that now Dwight and Sherry are going to give it a go again and that they're going to be together? Is that what we took from this?
Yes, because not only are they going to get together, but they will take care of Dove now, too. I guarantee that's what it's going to be. If it's not Dove, it's going to be some other young kid that needs help.
But then also, too, I mean, he I was getting like weird kind of creepy three-way vibes from Dwight because he's looking at June like, you're part of the family, too, June.
Yeah.
And then he looks over at like the 16-year-old. He's like, and you're part of the family, too. And now I'm like, okay, now you just got creepy, man. So, yeah, I did. I don't know. I mean, with Sherry and Dwight, it's only literally the next script before they're not going to be together. So, it's like flipping a coin, right? It's just like, we're together. Yeah. Oh, no, we can't be together. No, we should be together. No, we can't be together. So,
no, yeah, and you're right. And it is kind of constant. It's literally like teenagers.
Yeah.
We broke up after third period, you know.
But we'll get together after lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. Okay, so I wasn't mistaken then there that now, they're going to be the power couple of the apocalypse yet again for 10 minutes.
No, but they might make them living, and I'm using air quotes, happily ever after, part of their whole, like, ending on a high note thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the final episode. So that's a possibility. So I am mentally steeling myself for that to happen.
And whatever happened to the wrestler?
Who knows? Dead.
I mean, did she survive the nuclear bombs? I don't know.
The wrestler, the
kids.
No, what's it called? Jesus. The I can't think of the word, but the guy who was the Jewish minister or whatever.
Oh, the rabbi.
I was like, what is the word? Well, oh my God.
Well, that's because the rabbi turned up on Ahsoka. So he went to a galaxy far, far away. That's what he did.
Oh,
he left
he's
that
done.
show.
Yeah, there's so many people that are just in one fell swoop. They were able to be like, oh, they didn't make it in the raft journey.
I suppose. Okay. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, who knows, man. Anything else we need to discuss before we do our usual and take a quick break here, or?
Just again, the only advancement in the plot happened in the last 30 seconds where we see Strand has somehow found Padre, so he could find it. Troy, I'm looking in your direction. And he sent out some of his German minions because Germans aren't a warlike people, but they have found Tracy, which is Troy's daughter. If you remember last week, Tracy, all that, or 2 weeks ago. And no, it was last week. It was Iron Tiger. That was that one. And they have captured her and brought her to Padre. And literally, he is putting her in the cell or the room that Madison was in.
Oh my God.
And they pulled out all of the bellows and things that pump air in there and replaced them with like kids' phonographs and doll houses and stuff like that. And and so we're gonna see and in the scenes, the little commentary, one of the knuckleheads makes a point of asking the question that we all have in our minds, and that is Strand going to use the girl to help the group, or is he going to use the girl to help himself?
And really, it'll all kind of be mishmashed into one big thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So. Anyway,
so that's where we end. So again, this was as Eric Kane points out, when you've got 6 episodes left, of course you're going to do a bottle episode. In fact, you're going to do multiple bottle episodes, because why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's already terrible. You might as well drive the knife in further. Why not? All right. So we're going to pull that knife out so we can drive it back in next week. Before we do that, we're going to take a quick break, folks, because we actually did have some folks that gave us some feedback on what they thought of the episode. So when we come back, we're going to discuss that listener feedback we received, and we're going to talk about what's coming up on the podcast.
Right. So, run out and get yourself a McRib and stick around, because we'll be right back.
The following is an emergency action message. Civil authorities have identified a biological threat that they deem credible. This threat could potentially affect the entire continental United States.
The dead are returning to life and attacking the living.
911, what's your emergency?
There's a man on bed and he's attacking another man. Looks like he's biting him, like on the arm.
The initial signs are puzzling, unclear.
Getting pulled out of their cars and thrown to the ground. It looks like the bus passengers are biting their victims.
Soon, however, the reality is clear and undeniable.
The crisis involving the recently dead continues. Parliament today passed a law that requires all bodies of the recently deceased to be registered and turned
Toxic
over.
Bag Productions has captured the sounds of the zombie apocalypse and brought them to your gaming table. Background ambiances, zombie attacks, and radio transmissions that set the scene for your modern zombie adventure. Download MP3s from drivethrurpg.com or toxicbag.com.
Hey, this is Patricia Tallman, and you're listening to the Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. Don't forget to always aim for the head, because body shots just don't work, and I should know.
Hey, everybody, we are back. We got some great feedback this week. We're going to jump headlong into it and hope that there's no, zombies on the other end that have metal all over their skulls to, save themselves. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying here. Anyway, Steve, you go first.
Okay, hold on. Just finishing up my McRib. All right, so
nice.
Our first feedback comes from the international desk, and this is from our pal Andy from Germany. So,
hey, we haven't heard from Andy for a couple
Morgan,
weeks.
Diana, and Steve is how he starts. Guten Morgen, Andy, or Andre, if you remember from his Daryl Dixon feedback.
His French days.
His French days, right? And this is his first. He's actually, it was kind of cool. He sent in 2 feedbacks via the email, one for episode 7, Anton, and then which was the first episode of this block, and then one for last week's episode, Iron Tiger. So that's pretty cool that we get 2 episode feedbacks here. So I will start out. I will read the one for episode 7, and then you get to read episode 8. So
fantastic.
He says, Guten Morgen, Diana and Steve. Ha, that's the very first time that your podcast made me watch an episode twice. Oh, very nice. Very nice. He goes, first time I watched the German dubbing, it was very boring. I didn't realize those people are meant to be Germans. Then I heard your podcast, and afterwards I watched the original English version. This time it was very funny.
I love it.
He's like Germans in The Walking Dead. So cool. All those Germans are speaking with an English accent for some reason, except Victor. He obviously has never ever spoken German before and has no idea what he is saying. It was the trashy fun I was hoping for, and I was laughing a lot. It was also cool that the Germans were not the cliche military guys as usual, but pacifists, more similar to the Germans nowadays. That's pretty cool.
Very nice. True.
And he goes on to say, I have to admit, though, when I watched the episode for the first time, I wondered if the showrunners are trolling us. I thought maybe they are mad because they have to work while the others are on strike. So they thought, okay, let's see how bad we can make this. Yes, but that doesn't explain the previous 4 seasons either, man.
But he might be onto something here.
Yeah, he could be. And he goes, by the way, I thought the typical German names are Hans and Fritz, not Klaus and Dieter. And then he finishes up by saying, Auf Wiedersehen, Andy from Deutschland. And then he does throw a little PS in here, and I'm not sure if this is a shot or not, but he says, PS, I love your fake German accent, Steve. I wasn't aware that Germans sound like they have constipation. Oh, I hear nothing. Okay. Andy, thank you so much.
That's great.
That's awesome feedback. I love the fact that when he watched it the first time with the German dubbing, he didn't get it that they were German.
That's bad. That's bad, isn't it?
That is. That's not good. Not good at all. So anyway, and hey, I just would point out, point of fact, he talks about how they speak German with an English accent. That is like a real thing. Like there's a difference between like being taught German in school and growing up in a German house and speaking German. That the taught version is not really authentic, like to how people talk in Germany. Type thing. So that he's absolutely correct on that. So, but very funny feedback. Glad you enjoyed it as much as you did. And hey, we had the French, now we had the Germans. How cool is that? I think that's pretty great.
Yeah. And I agree with him. I thought it was nice to at least have some Germans who were not following the stereotype of what we normally see.
Right. Yeah.
In any kind of
media. And all that stuff. I agree. Yeah. I thought that way. Again, it was an interesting group. It's just weird to kind of introduce them when you've only got 5 episodes left, right?
Yeah. Yes, that is true.
Anyway, thanks a lot, Andy, for that.
Yeah. And thanks for this. So as Steve was saying, 2 emails. Andy did some catching up this week. And he sent in some feedback for last week's episode, Iron Tiger. And he writes in saying, hi, Diana and Steve. Why are you guys always so negative? Haha, finally I got a chance to say this. Charlie is alive! Yay! So cool that she showed up again. I got what I was hoping for from this episode. Trashy fun and funny trash with the characters I like. Unlike in the Walking Dead series before, where everyone who I care for had plot armor, this time I was emotionally involved when Charlie was in danger. I can see that. I don't like how it ended, though. You are right, Steve. Let her die with blazing guns, at least, instead of making her shoot herself like an idiot. But we didn't see her die on screen, so I will assume for myself that she tricked everyone and shot Troy's minion instead. She cheated death before, didn't she? Yeah, but wasn't her corpse in the truck when they were driving away later?
I think that was what we were led to believe.
I think so.
But I have to say, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to say, with the fact that they didn't show it at first, I thought, are they gonna like do a Glenn in the dumpster type thing going on here? So I thought that too, man. I thought that too.
I totally did. So Andy, maybe you missed, but at the very end of the episode, and Daniel has his confrontation about the whole thing. He's in a pickup truck, and they flashed it really quickly so I could see if somebody missed it, but there was a body like underneath, like a tarp or a blanket or something, with a hand sticking out, and I think we are to assume that is Charlie, and Daniel is so distraught over what happened that he's taking Charlie's body out. So I can't imagine that Daniel would have taken some other person's body and pretended that it was I don't know. So I think because of that, we're supposed to know that we're not going to see Charlie again.
The hand, it kind of looked like a girl's hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like a big, hairy, right. So not that girls can't have big brawny man hands. I'm not saying that, people. Stop the angry emails.
But they didn't. They looked like they could have been Charlie's hands.
Yeah, so, that was what I got. So yeah, but I had that thought too. And I'm like, well, they didn't show her die, and these guys hate killing people, so
Agreed. But yeah, I like that they kind of buttoned it up with that little. There was that little image. So I don't know if you missed it, Andy, and I can totally understand if you did, because it was actually a really quick little shot where they showed that hand coming out. So, but anyway, moving on. He continues and says, funny thing is, I forgot that it was Charlie who finished Nick. I was wondering why they filmed this scene where she arrives so strangely, showing her from behind to raise the tension. And then it came to me, oh, shit. And yet, Madison's reaction was a bit over the top. After all, she's known for 7 years that Nick is dead. He's not wrong. She lost all my sympathies for what she did to Charlie. If she wants revenge, she should have killed her fair and square. What a manipulative bitch. Tell us how you feel, Andy. I mean, don't sugarcoat it for us. For someone who spent years kidnapping children, she is quite fast in judging others. He makes a fair point there. People in glass houses and all of that. He continues and says, oh, and I know who the mother is of Troy's kid. You guys totally missed it. Though it is so obvious. It's Alicia. How else would he get her arm? Now, I'm going to stop for a second and say, because he has some more things here, but I want to say this was brought up this week as a possible thing online. Like, Troy ran into Alicia. We don't know when that happened. Could there have been something? Because if you look at how long it's been since, I guess, we've seen Alicia, that's the 7 years we're talking about, is the Padre stuff and whatever. So then is it possible?
No.
For the amount of years, yes, it's possible that it could have been Alicia, but I don't know. It feels way too neat. Very, very neat and tied in a bow and too easy for it to be. And
these guys love the coincidence.
And Alicia, if you want to go back, didn't like Troy because she was with Troy's brother. Right. And Troy was a little wacky when they were on the farm, and that was actually a point of contention between her and Troy's brother, who I can't remember his character name right now. He basically was like, she was like, your brother's dangerous. You don't see it. And he's like, no, he's fine. No, he's fine. And it ended up biting him in the ass because he ended up dying because of it. So, and I think she had some real feelings for him. So if anything, she would probably try and kill Troy rather than try and have a baby with him. So that's the biggest reason why I don't believe it.
When did she have time to have a baby back then?
And when did she have time to have a baby that didn't have some kind of nuclear/zombie virus in him?
Right, yeah. I mean, the only time that it could have happened was that huge block of time that Alicia wasn't on the show, when one of the rumors was that ADC in real life was pregnant. If you remember, when she finally turns up, and she, it's right after Teddy locked her in the bunker.
Yeah.
Right. She wasn't on. So how could he? I think it's an interesting theory, and it wouldn't put it past these idiots to somehow say, yeah, that's what happened. But I don't see how it could have.
Yeah. I mean, the years, the timing works out, but that's it. Like that's the only thing that makes sense is the amount of years that it's been. That's the only thing. I cannot conceivably see it making any kind of sense personally.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and by the way, Troy's brother's name was Jake.
Thank you. I knew it was something like simple, like Sam or something like that.
Technically, it's Jeremiah Jr., but they called him Jake.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So Andy thinks that it's Alicia, and there are a lot of people online that do. I don't think it's possible, but again, these guys like to do stuff that's illogical. So I don't think it's possible. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen on the show.
Yeah, exactly. and I think we should preface it by saying on any other show, I don't think it has a chance. On this show, you know what? Bet the under. Yeah, I think you got a shot there. Yeah, absolutely.
So Andy continues on and says, so he says, how else did he get her arm? Well, he killed her is what the intimation is. And says, whatever, your podcasts were fun. I think I never heard Steve that sarcastic. So constipated and sarcastic. Greetings from Germany, Andy. And I love this. His P.S. Klaus is a common German name, but I don't know a Klaus. So I'm like, it's like saying Mike is a common name, but I don't know
Mike. That's right.
Yeah. So
I guess the question is, does he know a Santa Claus?
Oh, I know a Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
You know, like claws, like kitty claws. Anyway,
sure.
Thanks for writing in twice, Andy. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Your feedback.
Yeah, awesome. And I did not. I don't know if he said this before, Andy, but I didn't realize that Charlie was like your favorite character from the recent group of Fear. So I'm glad that you kind of got to see at least her come back for one, albeit dumb ending. At least she got an episode to kind of come back after they kind of wrote her off, in terms of what they did to her. So that's cool. I'm glad you got that moment. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, moving along. Now we're up to this episode, this lovely, lovely D and S episode. And hey, again, that's another thing. I hate it when they're like, "Hey D, what's up S?" Nobody talks that way. Nobody.
Nope.
Even if your name was DEE, they wouldn't call you D. I'm sorry. Anyway, this feedback we got, and then this came via the email. And again, this is for Sanctuary, the episode we're talking about here. This came from one of our listeners named is DSVL. Hello, DSVL. How are you? And I know they've left feedback before, so we've read some of their stuff before, and they start out by going, "Hi guys, long-time listener, third time commenting." There we go. So 3 times. So this is number 3. I'm not going to list my complaints about this show because it would be too long.
I hear you.
I hear you. Me too. Then they go say, but I will say it's a shit show. I had to watch the first episode in 2 nights and barely made it through the second episode. Then they go on to say, the only, and only's all in caps, reason I'm watching this shit show is to listen to your comments.
Nice.
It's really nice of you to say that. And then they go, it's really nice to know that other people see the show for what it really is. And then in all caps and in quotes, a train wreck.
Yeah, it is.
And then they end it by saying, keep up the good work. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad we can commiserate and kind of laugh at just how ridiculous this is. So I'm
if only we're going to ask that you write in again. It says third time commenting, but we got it one more time because what does the DSVL stand for?
Right. I was asking D. I'm like, do you know? Oh my God, I just called you
no.
D. No.
You did.
I did. No. I'm so sorry.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I won't get another McRib for a week.
We are DNS, by the way.
I know we are, but we don't say DNS. So
no,
anyway,
I've never called you S.
But before we started this segment, I made a point of asking Diana, what do we know what the DSVL means? And she's like, I don't know.
I don't. So please, so we can do one or two things. We can either keep it a mystery, and that'll be a fun thing from week to week, or you can write it again And let us know. And I do want to say, I appreciate that you're watching the show only because, you want to listen to the podcast. I don't think you need to watch the show to listen to the podcast. I'm going to give you an out there as a longtime listener. This is my gift to you. You don't have to watch the show. We just gave you the rundown of every ridiculous, illogical thing that happened. So if it would be easier on your psyche and your soul to not watch and just get our commentary, I think you can probably figure it out from what we say, what the circumstances were of the episode. I'm throwing it out there. It's an offer. I want to make sure you're aware it. You don't have to watch the show. Just listen to us. That's fine.
I agree. We give you special dispensation. You're good.
Yeah, it is dispensation for sure. Thanks for writing in, though. We appreciate it. And let us know what the letters stand for. We're dying.
I know. I totally want to know.
I know. I love a good mystery. Next up, we return to the international desk for just a quick check-in. And it's our pal Bev, too. Hello, Bev. And she writes in and says, "Hi, guys. I hope you had a good week. Sigh." What a giant pile of crap that was. Wait. So is this like, are we Jurassic Park going to go see how the Stegosaurus is doing? Giant pile of crap?
I think we're sticking our arm up to our elbow into it. Yes, we are.
We're looking for what was it? It was like African lavender or something. Who the hell knows? Anyway, sorry, tangent. Giant pile of crap. There we are. Who allowed these 2-bit writers to bring such a beloved character as Dwight back to such an important place in his life, only to mess it up in such a tremendous fashion? And that sentence alone was written with more care and love and respect than anything that was in the show. She continues and says, "Terrible dialogue, stupid decision after stupid decision, yet another group of baddies we don't need. It was just one ridiculous scenario after another. Everyone except Austin had given up taking this rubbish seriously, and they were chewing up the scenery more and more with every trashy line they spoke. Bless poor Austin for trying to keep this runaway train on track." He certainly did, at least like he tried to keep it logical. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And then she continues and says, "The thing in this entire comedy of errors that was the most ridiculous is that," and you made a comment that was similar to this, "they have a war on their hands, and they're just down the road from Alexandria, the Hilltop, Kingdom, Oceanside. I know Dwight wouldn't be welcome, but Sherry could have gone for help. If it doesn't make sense to send your characters back home in a time of great peril, then don't. Just send them somewhere else that your viewers don't know the history of. My hopes of an ending to this show that is any good are dwindling. I have a feeling that you think the same." Bev, writing in from Stormy. Devin. Yeah, I hope that didn't affect your mood at all, the storminess. I agree. We talked about it, the ridiculousness of being so close to those areas that they knew really well. I mean, I would probably say maybe Sherry wasn't as well versed because she wasn't allowed to go out as much, but Dwight for sure could have brought them to where those areas were and been like, okay,
God, yeah.
I can't go into Alexandria, but go ahead and knock at the gate, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, okay, even that, all right, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, isn't there a statute of limitations there? I mean, first of all, I mean, he doesn't know this, but the person that really hates him, Mr. Dogfood himself, is in France right now. So he's not there. I don't know. It seemed weird to me that wasn't even a possibility of like, well, maybe we should go try Alexandria. No, can't do that. No. So yeah, I agree. It was terrible. It was ridiculous. And stupid decision after stupid decision. And you're right. The acting, Austin Amelia wasn't immune to it, in my opinion, but he was better than the rest of them because, as we said, Jenna Elfman was terrible. And Evangelista, I don't think she's a super great actor to begin with, but she was terrible. and the kid was ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, everything about that episode acting wise was not really very good. So yeah. I agree. I agree with everything you said. Yep.
And I feel bad that your hopes are dwindling, Bev. But hey, you'll be with us for the ride, so at least we will help. Cushion the landing,
ease the storminess.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry it was a crap episode for you, Bev, but we're here for you. And just think, only 3 more to go.
That's right. Only 3 more left.
But thanks for writing in, Bev. We hope to hear from you next week. I don't think it's going to get any better, but hey, what can you do?
I know what. We're almost through it. We're almost there. We're getting close.
All right. So thanks again, Bev.
Yep, thank you. All right, moving along, we got a piece of feedback from our #1 Ghostbuster fan, Teresa Harper. And,
hey, Teresa.
Hello, Teresa. I know who I'm going to call. And she sent this via the Facebook, and she says, I'm scared to say it because I know it's an unpopular opinion. Get ready, people. But I kind of like this one. Dun, dun, dun. No, that's great. I'm glad that you found stuff in here that made you kind of enjoy it, because I got to say I did not. Maybe because of all the main show references, but I thought it was good. It would have been way better without the Dove character. She was terrible, but I love Dwight, Sherry, and June. Plus, we got Daryl and Negan in this one. Yay! Thanks, guys, for covering a show I know you dislike. I look forward to your podcast. It makes my drive to and from work pleasant.
Aww.
That's really nice. And then she finished it up, and she gave us 2 ghost emojis and the peace sign emoji, and I don't know, some other emoji. I can't see what it is.
I think it's the 2 when you put the hands together to make the heart. Like, heart.
Oh, okay, doing the heart symbol. Okay, so. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's very sweet. That's very sweet, and we're glad we can make your trek to work more enjoyable. And it's not a good show, but these podcasts at least are amusing. So
yeah, we feel like us doing the podcast is the only thing that we can give you to sort of help you through. But she is enjoying the show. She enjoyed that.
She liked that one.
So, I can understand. There's a lot of sentimentality in that episode. So I could see a lot of people, at least, connecting with that, connecting with. It's such a deep connection to the original show. So if that worked for you, then I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Me too.
All right, so moving on, we also got some feedback from Karen, not related to Lauren Cohen, via the Facebook, and
hey, Karen.
She doesn't beat around the bush right off the bat. This episode was such a waste. What a bunch of babies. I don't like Dove. I think that it was funny when she told Dwight he couldn't even save his own kid. Wow, sick burn. Dwight tells everyone to get into the oven at the end because the fire went out. Wouldn't it still be hot as hell in there? Yes!
Yes, it would. I was right there with you. I'm like, you can't get in there. You're going to die. Okay. All right.
The dude ran out on fire just minutes before. This show continues to do things that make no sense and waste time. Strand is in charge again. He even has a new look to go with it. He will also use a child for trade. Perfect. Looking forward to the pod as usual. Cheers. You're welcome, Karen. And yes. we recognize the ridiculous as well, and we have no answers for you. I really don't.
No, I don't. No, we don't.
Yep. I don't know about you, but
feedback.
Yeah, but I don't know about you, but if I let's say I cook a pizza at 400 degrees and I turn the oven off, if I come back like a half an hour later and touch the oven, I can still burn myself.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just a little gas oven at 400 degrees. What do we think that furnace was running at?
It was hot enough to melt lead. So, yeah, pretty hot.
Yeah, pretty hot. Yeah. All right, so what's coming up on the podcast? Next week, we are covering what we'd like to call 3 more to go. Oh, is that the title? Yeah.
No, it's 4 down, 2 left.
4 down. Oh, there's 3 left, though. It's 10.
Yeah, but then next week is 10, so then we have 11 and 12 after that, right?
Oh yeah, so only 2 left after this episode.
Yeah. So this is 4 down, 2 to go is the actual title, and then they AMC tacked on the keeping her alive thing at the end of it for whatever reason.
Yeah, whatever that means. And keep in mind too, we've mentioned it before, but just to make sure it's clear, it's 3 episodes are left. There's 10, 11, and 12, but there's also only 2 weeks. They are doubling up on episode 11 and 12 are going to be that following Sunday.
Right. The 18th.
So be aware that you will have to watch 2 hours of crap instead of 1 hour of crap.
See, I think they're missing a golden opportunity there, because if they were to have the final episode on the Sunday night of Thanksgiving weekend, it's the perfect thing to give thanks for, people, that forking show is done. I mean, total marketing opportunity missed.
Yeah. Dum-dums. So title of the episode from them, they're calling it Keeping Her Alive. Like you said, I guess we're supposed to assume that's Alicia.
The scenes for next week do suggest that, we're back now. We're on the thread of Madison is looking for Alicia wandering around out there. So
roaming the earth like Cain.
Yeah, we call that a bum, Julia. So the scenes, it's like I said, it's suddenly they're in some place where it's very cold and there's snow, and like the walkers are like frozen in the mud, so they can't really move. And you see one and it like rips its leg off from below the knee because the foot's frozen. And we see Madison, and she's still swinging that big hammer even though she can't breathe. And interestingly enough, we see Lucy. So Lucy comes back. So her, I'm going off by myself moment was very short-lived. I don't know if we'll see Daniel. Probably will, because if she's there, he'll be there, right? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
And you see a lot of stuff with Strand and Troy, whether they're talking on the magic walkie-talkies or they're face-to-face. And then at the very end, we see that Strand is out amongst a group of ghouls, and one of them like falls on top of him, and he's trying to hold it off from biting him. And it's supposed to be very, very actiony and suspenseful, but I mean, Strand ain't going anywhere, so he's going to get out of it. So yeah, that was kind of the scenes for next week. It whatever. Again, it's an episode. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we have to say about that. We'll talk about it. That's it. Yeah. And we have actually been talking about Day of the Dead. That's coming up in 2 weeks as well.
Yep.
And last week I made that comment about how, hey, and take a look at who's coming, and they always have a tendency to announce a couple more people in the last week or two, and they did. So so they expanded the roster even further, so maybe we'll even get some more people. So if you're in the Chicago area, maybe you're traveling to see your family for Thanksgiving and you'll be near. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go to a horror convention? So it'll be fun. We're going to see lots of great people there. We're going to get to hang with the Dolls of Horror and say hello to them. They will, of course, be running the panels as usual, and it'll be a great time. Good time had by all. So
good time had by
join
all.
us if you'd like.
Yep, and just a quick reminder that if you are interested in going, I believe you have until the 10th, which is this Friday, to get discounted tickets.
That is correct.
So,
and it's a really great deal. It's only $60 for the whole weekend pass.
Right.
And typically, like, that's such a good deal. Usually, Steve and myself and wherever, we usually just get that weekend pass, even if at the last minute it's like, oh, I can't make it to Sunday, or whatever. I'm not going to be able to go to Friday, just Saturday and Sunday or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like $60 is like, it's such a great deal.
Well, yeah, and I believe like the individual days are like $35 each, or like Friday and Saturday are $35 and Sunday is like $30 or so. So yeah, it's definitely, if you're thinking of going 2 days only, it's still cheaper to just get the weekend pass. So yeah, but this just a reminder that this Friday the 10th is the cutoff, and so then a weekend pass is right now at $60. After this Friday, it goes up to $80. So it's
so it's a big jump.
$20 you can save. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be really cool. gonna get to see some cool people, and the dolls are super fun, and so it's gonna be good.
I'm mostly looking forward to Alyssa Sutherland from the most recent Evil Dead movie is going to be there, and I think she's going to be great.
I've seen, like I said, I went to the indie show this year back in June, and she was the headliner there, and she's great. She's
great.
She's beautiful, and she's tall, and she's all arms and legs. And she's Australian, and she tells amazing stories. She's very down to earth and relatable, and she was great. So that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun.
Oh, good. I'm very, very, very much looking forward to seeing her. I think she's gonna be fun. So that'd be good. Yay. And then one housekeeping note for everybody. Yes, Keeping Her Alive is next week's episode. We did mention that it is a double episode for the finale. They'll be doing episodes 11 and 12 together. And we also mentioned the 2 weeks from now, we're also going to be going to the Day of Dead convention. So combine those two together, and we're going to need an extra day to sort of consume all of that 2-episode goodness. So we will, we're already planning on recording a day late. So you'll have extra time to get your feedback into us. We'll put the posts out, but we're going to record on Tuesday instead of Monday. So we got plenty of time to catch up and watch those episodes.
Yep. I think that's a good idea, because we won't, I mean, I know, we won't get back until 3, 4, or 5 o'clock, depending on what the last panel is on Sunday, and it's just not enough time to cram 2 of these terrible episodes in and make notes and everything.
And we probably could, hours wise, would it fit in there? Sure. But if now we take that pressure off, then we don't have to worry about it at all, and we can enjoy ourselves at the con, maybe watch one of the episodes Sunday night and watch the other one Monday. Who the hell knows? But my point is we're building a little bit of buffer in there. And it'll give you guys more time to watch those 2 episodes too, because that's a lot of crap to have to digest.
That is.
But we are going to take an extra day to get ourselves prepped for the podcast. So we'll have posts about it too, but you'll have a little extra time to get us your thoughts as well. So anything else we need to discuss? I think we're getting towards that natural endpoint here.
I think so. We're coming up on 2 hours, so I think we jibber-jabbered enough.
We sure did. And as we said, even when it's crap, we still find something to talk about. You know us, folks. But we're going to go ahead and call it quits for this week. Thanks so much for listening in. We love chatting with you guys. We can't wait to chat again next week. We don't want to talk about the show, but we do like talking to you, and won't that be fun? But
next week's alternative topic, the McRib. Pro or con?
So you guys go out and have a McRib, come back and let us know. We'll chat about it next week. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve. Bonjour.
Bonjour. And don't forget to aim for the head.
Because the body shots, they just do not work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTHpodcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
But anyway, that's not that big.
They want to talk about, your relationship and life in general and future events, and you're like, I'm watching football.